And many thanks for making a date with me today on the marketplace. Welcome back. The Ghana cedi saw its strongest gain in a month in terms of quotes offered by various banks. The local currency closed last Friday selling at around 5 cedis 46 pesos, which might be one of the highest gains in value in a long while. But are these signs evidence of good things to happen for the cedi? George Rafi has more.
The 5 cedis 46 pesos that most of the major banks offered last Friday represents about 6 peso gain for the local currency in 2 days. Some bank treasurers and dealers the Joy business have spoken to are attributing it to the recent move by the Bank of Ghana to forward sell forex to businesses, an increase in dollar support for banks, and the expected inflows from the cocoa loan syndication from next week, which would increase the Bank of Ghana's reserves to $9.4 billion and possibly hit $10 billion before the end of this year. This has actually lessened the pressure on the cedi compared to what we witnessed some few days ago. But this development is coming at a time that the Economist Intelligence Unit forecasted some challenging times for the local currency. For a lot of enterprises, the biggest test is whether this can be sustained, especially approaching the festive season and even the last quarter of this year that most firms would like to restore their supplies by import. For many firms, especially those in the import business, they actually complained about how the cedi's volatility is impacting negatively on their operations. They have told Joy Business that they don't mind if the dollar today is being sold at 6 cedis only if they are sure that rate can be sustained for the next 3 months.
Also, we want to have a conversation around the cedi stability, the temporal cedi stability, so to speak. And my colleague George Rafi has once again joined me in the studio. George, welcome. Now, these measures that have, affected the cedi stability, are they sustainable at all?
I mean, it's a question that a lot of people are asking themselves, that going forward, can we see this be sustained? Because the real pressure will be in the last quarter of this year when there's Christmas festivity and all the rest, and companies are going to import for the next quarter, whether there will be enough dollar supply on the market and all the rest. So it's a question that everybody is asking for themselves in terms of what the Bank of Ghana is going to do and what they don't have to do. But just a quick recap of why we've gotten here. You know that, the cedi was fairly stable. We also saw some serious blips over the past weeks. And then what we've seen right now. What is accounting for this is that the Bank of Ghana has, again, upped its supply of dollars onto the market. We also are understanding that the plan by the Bank of Ghana from tomorrow to start auctioning dollars on a forward contract basis is also bringing some calmness onto the market. And also, least should we forget the planned cocoa loan syndication, trying to, put in about $1.3 billion should hit the Bank of Ghana's account. A first tranche of $650 million are also going to come in from next week. So all these development, and it's always a supply and demand issue. And also the fact that when people are afraid that the Bank of Ghana is not in a good position to support the cedi, then they bet. So with all these developments, it looks like for those who are betting on the local currency, they think that, okay, going forward, the Bank of Ghana will be in a strong position. So there might not be a need to rush in for dollars when you don't actually need those dollars.
But interesting. Don't you think these bettors and speculators all, hinge on the fact that these measures are temporary? The Bank of Ghana's,
of course, one big thing that most local businesses have complained about is the volatility. So imagine as an importer, imagine as a business, you start negotiating for some contract or deals to support your currency. You start on Monday, you get to Wednesday, there's a change in currency. You get to Thursday, there's a different blip. Even before you close that transaction with your commercial bank, you've seen the cedi change about 5 times or even 4 times. That distorts any business that want to plan. So a major problem in the short term is that what do you do in terms of the monetary space? What do you do in terms of if you control the monetary space to ensure that even if today the cedi is 10 Ghana cedis to $1, at least they stabilize for maybe about a month or something, so that you will help businesses a little bit in terms of their planning. Okay. What we've seen in the past is that there are blips every day and it throws everything out of gear. So when somebody is going into a contract, or even is trying to bring in goods, or even trying to price his or her goods, they'll say that, okay, I'm bringing in this good from outside. It will take about 3 months. Let me price it at X amount because I believe the city will continue to depreciate. And that impacts on inflation and also has an impact on the cost of living.
Yeah.
So the argument here for most of the businesses out there, and even those who are in the monetary space and all that, is that what can be done to at least make sure that if the city is this, it is stabilized for a while. So that would be the short-term measure. On the medium term, we have to improve on our export. And I've been trying to get some thoughts on these issues from Professor Peter Cortes, an economist, on what do we do in the short term and the long term to ensure that this good run is sustained. Let's watch him.
On the monetary side, I've always said that the need to enforce the regulations. I don't think we are doing that a lot. There's a lot of informal activities going on within the foreign exchange market. People transact in foreign exchange without license, sometimes without identification. You could walk to any forest bureau or any corner and exchange money. The black market is flourishing, so they have every incentive to hoard and release and create panic. So all of these activities are going on, and that for me is a short-term measure or short-term activity that can be addressed easily to influence the foreign exchange or the exchange rate. And then also you find quite a number of traders who undertake cash transactions. Those who go to Dubai, who go to China. I believe we can facilitate that a bit more, if we can create the environment to enable them transact business, exchange money, go to China, maybe load their monies on debit cards. I know some banks are doing that here, so that they can transact business. That in itself would help as a short-term measure. But in the long term, certainly they need to export more, get more export revenue, and by so doing, we'll be able to rake in more foreign exchange. Otherwise, we'll continue to rely on some of these inflows, donor inflows, cocoa syndicated loan. Those are the things we rely on to cushion ourselves.
What on the fiscal front as well?
With the fiscal front, trying to be more prudent is key, because anytime we run huge budget deficits, that is where it also translates into exchange rate depreciation. We tend to pay more on foreign denominated debts, and that affects the foreign.
Also, that was Professor Peter Cortes, an economist, also sharing his thoughts on the currency stability. Now, he mentioned, like you said earlier, the syndication loan. Yeah. There's another school of thought which thinks that now we have cut down on the import of crude oil for energy supply, and that is in itself is also contributing to the city stability.
So it's all about a reserve position as well. So you've seen that the Bank of Ghana's reserves, they are telling us that all other things being equal, it could hit about $10 billion by the end of this year. By the first week of next month, that could hit about $9.4 billion. Now, again, a strong reserve position again will stop people from betting on the city, because the argument is that, the Bank of Ghana is in a strong position to support the Ghana city when it matters. So people would again not rush in to get dollar, because there are some businesses as we speak now that are important for the first quarter of this year. So if you think that the Bank of Ghana's reserve position is quite strong, you would not rush in to try and even import when you don't need it. So having less import in terms of crude for operations also means that now the Bank of Ghana is making some savings in terms of relying on their cash FX to support these importations in the country. And all these things are critical. Whilst you're producing more of these things internally and we are exporting more, those are the practical ways of dealing with this problem where it's really depreciating and we are running around and what should we do and all the rest. So let's produce more, consume more locally, export more, and that would help. Getting alternate sources for some of these things, crude. We are not doing more gas locally, so that is being used to power these industries and these power generating firms. So it means that we are cutting down it. Can we look at other measures as well that we cut down on the FX that we use to finance the import of these goods?
So in all these, what are currency treasurers and dealers saying about this?
For some of them, they still want more from the Bank of Ghana, because they still think that there are more demands out there to meet their clients. And some of these measures that are coming in are good, but they think that the Bank of Ghana should be more on the market when they come in and supply. Yes, over the past, you've seen Bank of Ghana upping the supply of dollars onto the market, and that is good. But how do we ensure that those dollars are going to finance businesses that really need these dollars to support their operations?
Well, there's another development which I would want us to take a look at, and a visit by Joy Business team to Accra Mall this morning has revealed that some shops are still pricing in foreign currencies as against the directive from the Bank of Ghana. A shop attendant who won't speak on record says the goods are imported from the UK, hence pricing in the pound sterling and euros. She indicated that the equivalents of the euro price tags are converted into the cedi for customers. What's your take on this? It's quite worrying.
When it comes to the country's foreign exchange laws, it bars anyone from quoting in foreign currency, and that's what the law says. Only in some specific instances where that business is exposed to certain international clientele and all the rest and blah blah, and that is why you may be given the permission from the Bank of Ghana, the Ghana Tourist Board, be the hotel to do that. But as far as the law is concerned, you're not supposed to price, you're not supposed to advertise in any foreign currency, be it pound, euro, or dollars. Now, ask yourself, what is the rationale behind it? Now, for instance, if I take my son or you take your son to a school and they are being asked to pay dollars, because the cedi is not that strong and you are advertising in dollars or pounds, people would go out there, even change their cedi account or take about 100,000 Ghana cedis to go and buy dollars in anticipation that when it's time to pay the fees, I would use the dollars to pay.
But I don't think
so. The psychological effect is that when people are pricing in
by seeing the dollars
and
alone,
listen, they were forced to hold on to dollars to deal with those issues, and that is what you want to discourage.
But some of these agencies convert them. They convert them to cedis.
The law is that do not price or advertise in foreign currencies, because the medium of exchange in your local your country is the cedi. But you know, there's a flip side to it as well. Some are saying that, listen, the major problem here is that make the Ghana cedi strong. If the local currency is strong, there wouldn't be any motivation for even other shops in the metropolis to be pricing in foreign currency because of the FX differential that they have to deal with when they are going back to import these goods into the market.
Many thanks for this incisive analysis, George, and thanks for the show. Now, the Ministry of Tourism and Culture says activities for the year of return will extend beyond this year to strengthen the bond and with the diaspora community. The landmark marketing campaign targeting African Americans and other persons who trace their roots to Ghana and Africa to mark 400 years of the first enslaved African arrival in the U.S. Sector Minister Barbara Otinjesi was addressing a gathering at the national event to mark World Tourism Day in Kumasi. Nana Sensu Mensah has more in this report.
Statistics from the United Nations Tourism Organization indicates the tourism sector represents 10% of the world gross domestic product and provides 1 in 11 jobs globally. With extension of the period of the year of return, the initiative is expected to create long-lasting bonds to explore investment and other economic opportunities.
2019 is a year of return, but I want to just let you all know that we are not going to end the year of return in 2019. It continues. Very soon, you will hear from us the new program that we have.
Madam Barbara Otinjesi assures of continued government partnership with the private sector to expand the tourism industry.
As the private sector is the engine of growth, the ministry strongly considers the private sector wing, the Ghana Tourism Federation, GATO, as one of the key players and an avenue in the provision of jobs and employment, thus creating a better future for all. So we need you to be on board. We will continue to engage the private sector trade associations, including the hotels, restaurants, travel and tour agencies, the chop bars, guest houses, tourist sites and attractions, regarding strategies to expand the industry to promote more jobs.
Industry players, traditional authorities, and other interest groups attended the function. Kumawood actor and tourism ambassador Bill Asamoah appealed to government to involve local movie producers and other players in decision-making to grow the sector.
You made mention of carnival, street carnival. Many anom there. Near your best friend say, Ebia, anka any concert party. Nanka ya celebrating owaha. Nanka all other regions. Omo concert party for ni na Obiaba cultural center ha. Nanka any the ashesha so nanka ayefe. 2 days kra nanka ayede. Eno ntrese street carnival na eba no yem patronize. We will be part of it, but we are asking that the film industry should be highly involved in all that you do as a tourism ministry.
Nana Asansumensa reporting.
The National Petroleum Authority, in collaboration with the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, has adopted a digital strategy to deal with challenges of fuel adulteration and smuggling of petroleum products out of the country. Known as a digital seal, managers of the fuel service stations will be able to track fuel supply from the depots to the pumps. Speaking to Joy Business, Industry Coordinator JoyNews is confident the new strategy will significantly help to reduce the menace. Here's more in this report.
The issue of fuel adulteration has been a major concern for industry players and governments over the years due to the negative impact on consumers. Some oil marketing firms have teamed up with the regulator, the National Petroleum Authority, to clamp down on some suspected persons involved in nefarious practice to safeguard the business. According to Industry Coordinator for the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, JoyNews, the new strategy, which involves the use of digital devices, will take effect from November this year.
The digital seal, it's something that we're going to start from 1st November. It's something that the regulator with us, we discussed that and realized it's a way to go. And what's going to happen is that we're going to make sure that, for instance, adulteration and other things that go on, third-party issues will all be kept. Because at every stage, we will monitor as the truck is moving and it's stored somewhere and discharge some quantity, we'll get to know.
So are you going to put it in the truck? Or?
It's all on the BRA, on the trucks. We call them the tankers. You call the tankers, we call them BRVs. They'll all be on them. It's going to be something mandatory for everybody to do.
Only OMCs?
Oh, all the trucks.
In a related development, the oil marketing companies are calling for streamlining of levies and taxes payable to local authorities in the various service stations.
Our main issue is the paucity of it. You know, if it's something that we can streamline, like for instance, they're going to do the annual budget and they are with us, we all agree on something for the next year, for instance, we will plan appropriately. But not the mid-year or somewhere along the year, then they start increasing. It becomes very difficult. Especially, it's associated when you have new assemblies coming. You know, because they're also looking for revenue. You can't begrudge them. But we want it to be done in a rather streamlined way, rather than the paucity of it.
Mr. JoyNews was speaking with Joy Business after hosting a section of the media in Accra.
The Ghana Revenue Authority (GRA) has taken the enforcement of its tax stamp implementation to the Bono and Bono East regions. The exercise was to clamp down on wholesalers and retailers of beverages without tax stamps. Precious Semevo sent in this report from Sunyani.
The Ghana Revenue Authority says the clampdown of wholesalers and retailers is to force manufacturers to ensure total compliance of the excise tax stamp policy introduced by government in 2013. Some businesses were locked while others had their products confiscated in an exercise which took the revenue mobilization team to some parts of Sunyani and Techiman in the Bono and Bono East regions. The aim was to ensure all accessible products are fixed with stamps. In Sunyani, for instance, the team did not only confiscate hundreds of cartons of some alcoholic beverages for selective tax stamps, but also locked up businesses for reasons including failure to adhere to the filing of their tax returns. Francis Yaoda, Principal Revenue Officer, is the leader of the team, and he has been explaining why attention is more on wholesalers and retailers.
For the manufacturers, I think we were with them for some time. We spent almost 1 month at their factory location to ensure that they do their fixing there. And while we were there, I think they were doing the right thing. So now we have realized that after we have left their premises, we want to go to the those who are doing the retail and the wholesale. Because if you do that, then now the wholesalers and the retailers will not be buying from the manufacturers. And when we do that, it will force the manufacturer to do the right thing. That's why for now, we want to leave the manufacturers and come to the retailers and the wholesalers. With the immediate effect, they should ensure that all the products that they are dealing in are faced with the tax stamp. Because if you don't do that, and we happen to get them, we will seize them, and they will be required to pay interest, penalty, and other charges that for them, it may not be pleasant to them. So we are cautioning them that they should do the right thing, and when they do the right thing, it will be to their benefit and to the benefit of the country.
He also had a word of caution for businesses who delay or fail to file their tax returns.
Filing of return is what we call self-assessment. It's after the end of the month, the taxpayer will file the return and indicate on the return that this is a taxable supply that he has made. And the taxpayer himself, will write it on the form and submit to our office. It is after 2 or 3 years that we will go back to go and verify and confirm and authenticate whether what the taxpayer has declared on the returns are what really is the issues on the ground. They have given the chance to do that. And it appears that some people are abusing that liberty that has been given. So that's when with time we also go around to find out whether indeed they are following and complying and filing the returns as required. Level of compliance compared to what we observed when we came to Bono Ahafu region then, I think there has been some improvement. But we have seen that there is no total compliance. When we went to Tichimai, we found out that some few products were not affixed with the tax stamp, and per the law, we are supposed to seize them. So we did those seizures.
And that will be it for the marketplace today. Many thanks for your company. We'll certainly bring you more business news on Business Live. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. We have a good afternoon.